Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Megan and I'm a homeschool mom to 6 kids, and today we're going to talk about morning time in our homeschool. There are many ways that people approach it in their homeschool, many names that it may go by: morning time, morning meeting, symposium, morning basket, book basket, whatever you call it. That's what the subject of today's video is. It's also in collaboration with my friend Leilani over at Living with Eve. So make sure that you check out her channel. She has a wealth of information over on her YouTube channel and is a good friend of mine. And there's also a playlist of several other homeschool moms who are sharing their morning time, morning basket, whatever you want to call it, in their homeschool as well. Now, on my channel, I have done many videos about morning basket, what's in it, how we use it, things like that. Last year, I did an okay job at doing a monthly what's in our morning basket video. And so this is my video for September, and this is actually the first one for this 2022-2023 school year. Now, we're already a month into school at this point, and we have of course done morning basket throughout that first month of school. But I want to explain a little bit, first of all, how we use morning basket and also what is included in ours. Each year, I feel like our morning time looks a little bit different. Sometimes it really is just like a designated morning basket time that includes read alouds and Bible and things like that. That's really how we used it last year. This year, it is more of, yes, there's a basket with things in it, and there's like read alouds and resources and things that we use in it. However, we do actually utilize it throughout the day, but I'm going to talk more about morning time in our homeschool. So this is a time where we as a family gather together first to start off our school day. And our school day is always started off with our morning menus. Now, this is something that I started doing last year. It has been a game changer for us because there are several things that I like to kind of go over and do in the morning time. As you can see, this first page is our verse of the year. And so that is what I did last year as well. I printed our verse of the year for our school year, and I put it in the front cover. The next part on the inside is actually our poem that we are working on, which I actually need to switch this out because our poem is changing this next week. And then also our verse. Usually our verse is for the month because I'm actually using the verse that is chosen for my kindergartners curriculum, which is Gentle and Classical Primer. So we have that. And then we also have catechism questions, which I actually will need to update this, but this was for our first month of school. And then catechism questions 6 through 10 will be for this month that we will focus on. The other thing that is in our morning menus, this one for some reason is missing it, is our hymn for the month, which again, this will be changing this month. And but Be Thou My Vision was the one that we were using before. Happy Hymnody is an amazing resource for hymns. They have a designated hymn each month. I don't necessarily follow the one that they do. This is actually from their archive from the past. But on her website and YouTube channel, she is leading the hymn, so you can sing along with her in the YouTube video. And then, of course, she has printables, including the actual music of the hymn, which I use the words for my younger kids, and then my older kids, I use the one with the actual music. And so those are printables, and then also copy work if that is something that you like to incorporate as well. So our morning menu, Tom, it's really pretty quick. We do not always go over everything. We don't do our poem every single day. It's usually a couple of days a week. And then we go over our verses. And then our catechism questions are typically a couple of days a week as well. So the days that we do our poem, that is, we don't do our catechism. And the days that we do our catechism, we don't do our poem, if that makes sense. So alternating days. So that is our morning menus. Now that is what starts our morning time together. Our homeschool day is started with that time. The other component of that is actually our Faithopedia, which is apologetics. This is a flip chart that is put out by Not Consumed Ministries. We are absolutely loving it. So this year I chose the Old Testament to start with the Old Testament. And each day we just read through whatever is on this little flip chart. So as you can see, we will be doing Leviticus. And it just gives information about the book of the Bible. And then the next part is a concept that is learned, usually a vocabulary word or something like that. Like last week was redemption and redeemer, how we see that in the Old Testament, in that particular book of the Bible, and then also how we see that mirrored in the New Testament. So it has been very fruitful. Wonderful conversations have come from it. And they do have reflection journals that go along with this, but I chose not to use those because we had so many moving parts this year. And I really wanted to just hone in on the discussion of it all rather than actually journaling it out. So we are only using the flip chart. So total, how much time does this take? Going through our menus, doing our Faithopedia, and Bible time. This takes total probably 10 to 15 minutes. Now, if our discussion ends up going longer, like we had a really great deep discussion the other day that really went along with like some heart things that are happening in our home right now, then it ended up being around 20 minutes. But it doesn't take all that much time, and then we've got one subject already out of the way by the end of that. So what about our basket, our actual morning basket? I'm going to share what's in it, but as I said, it has kind of just become our current read alouds and resources that we may use for the day, and it's really more of an all-day basket. So let me grab it and I'll share what's in it. Okay, so honestly, I'm not even sure where I got this basket. I think I was given a gift in this basket at some point, and I just adopted it several years ago as our designated like morning basket. It's technically really our book basket with our current read alouds and resources, like I said. But in the front of it, I keep our Old Testament cards. So this is just something that sometimes I will grab and we'll go through their little flashcards with information on the back. I've shared this before. These are from Daily Grace Co. They have New Testament ones obviously as well, but since we're studying Old Testament, I kept them in there. Our current read alouds that we are actually almost finished with are The Sword in the Tree, as well as Sir Lancelot the Great, The Adventures of Sir Lancelot the Great. These are great, by the way. We especially really love this one. The next thing that I have in here is more for my kindergartner. These are things that we utilize from time to time when we sit and read together, and that is our Christian Liberty Nature Reader. Love this, absolutely love this. And also our little Old Mother West Wind book. The next thing that is in here is Story of the World. So we use BiblioPlan. If you're not familiar with that, I will link a video down below that I have done on what BiblioPlan is and how we use it. It is new for us this year, that curriculum is, but so far I can already tell you it's my favorite history I've ever done in our homeschool. In the past, I talked very highly about Story of the World. I think it's great too, but once you've experienced BiblioPlan, it's just like, oh, this is great. But what's great about BiblioPlan is that even though it has its own like text component, it also has on its little like resources page for each week, it will outline if you want to use Story of the World, it will tell you which parts of Story of the World to read. So I keep this in our basket in case a particular day we read from Story of the World. The next thing is Trial and Triumph. This is something that we used some last year as well, but we are using quite a bit this year because once again, it is in our BiblioPlan guide. If like as a resource that you can use if you want to. This is stories from church history. Basically, it is people of faith throughout history that stood up for their faith, typically martyrs. The next book that is in here is Everyday Graces. This book is actually something that we use. It's like manners and virtue type things that we use for my kindergartners' Gentle and Classical Primer. Now, the Gentle and Classical Primer with this kind of thing, I actually use this, the verse, things like that, and the art and music that's in there is actually what we're using as a whole family. And I'll get to the rest of that here in a second. But I keep this in the basket because it references it quite a bit. Something else that's missing right now, and I think it's in my bedroom, is our theology. That is something else, another resource that we use based on when it's scheduled out in the Gentle and Classical Primer. And so that is something else that's normally in our basket. The last thing that is physically in here is 7 Blind Mice. This is what is scheduled in Gentle and Classical to go with our art concept for the week, and so I have this stuck in here as well. Now, we have a lot of books that we get from the library and read as well, but we keep those in a library bag so that they don't get mixed up in all of this, but this is what stays in the basket. Now, one of the things that's missing in this basket is actually an audiobook that is a read aloud that we are doing for this month, actually 2 of them. We are using 2 audiobooks, Shadow Spinner and also Tale of Despero, which we have read Tale of Despero a few years ago, but it was one of the suggested read alouds in our history, just as a fun read aloud to go along with our history, and Shadow Spinner is scheduled as well. It's like Arabian Nights. And so we are actually going to listen to the audiobook version of those. We're going to actually listen to them in the car because we are leaving for a trip soon, and those are great things that we like to utilize on trips. And so I just chose some of the read alouds that were scheduled in. So that's why they're not physically in the basket. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you guys is our memory board. This is an idea from Gentle and Classical Primer. And again, while some of the things like, for example, manners and hygiene, I don't do this with all of my kids. This is my kindergartner. But a lot of these things and the idea of our memory board I adopted from the Gentle and Classical Primer, and I'm loving it. This is something else that in the morning during like the morning menu time, I like to reference this. So I just put our current verse up here, which is also in their menus, our current catechism, which this one is not in the menu, but this is the one that we are going to be focusing on the most for this next week. And then what the virtue is, which this is for my kindergartner as well, and the manners. Now, history and science obviously is not part of the primer, but I wanted to include it. And this is something that we go over in the mornings together. But this is things that we have gone over in history and that I want to keep fresh and part of our memory for what we've been learning. So I was using just like sticky Post-it notes, but they kept falling off and stuff. And so I just transferred it over to these note cards, and I just keep them in my little basket down there. And so I just put all of like words that we need to know that I want them to remember. And then we just go over, okay, who was Arius and Athanasius and what happened there, you know, and we just kind of go over it like that and recall what we remember, as well as our science concepts. And this is our current science concepts. And so we just go over that as well. And I'll just say like, what is the geosphere? Or I might start out by saying, what are the 4 spheres of the earth? And they would say these, and I would say, okay, what is the geosphere? What is the hydrosphere? That kind of thing. And we just keep it fresh in our memories and not just something that we read and do one day and then pass on to the next. And the last part of that is actually our art and music. And we have been studying Bach and the different instruments and how they sound. So that's why this is here. And then also we've been studying Vermeer and the concept of color, which that's going to be changing, our concept is. And so I keep that right here. Okay, so that is our morning basket time, morning meeting, whatever you would like to call it. That's our intro to the day for our homeschool. Now, after we go through all of this is when we move into our family subjects. On 2 days a week, we do history. 2 days a week, we do science. Sometimes if the day is going really, really well and we're just really like hitting it that day, I will do both subjects before we break off into our independent subjects that is done every day. So Fridays are co-op days. So we are 4-day-a-week homeschoolers, but that is the structure of our morning. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Make sure you check out that playlist, and thank you, Leilani, for hosting today's collaboration. I can't wait to check out the playlist. I love to see what other people do in their homeschool. It's encouraging to me because we're all walking this same path right now. And tell me down in the comments below, what do you do during morning time? Do you have a morning basket time? Do you have just like a book basket? What are you currently reading? Share down in the comments below. I hope to see you guys on future videos. If you're not subscribed, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later. Thanks so much, guys, and have a blessed day. Longer, like we had one of those really deep, great discussions the other day.